Yo guys, what is up? Here we are with another reading video. We are on chapter 24 of The Only Thing to Fear by Caroline Tung Richmond. Now, there are 25 chapters in the book, so we are almost done. So I am planning on probably taking a break for the holidays as soon as I finish this book, or maybe I'll give you some book lists and read the back of some books for you guys to kind of think about. Comment down below what you want. But I think that I won't start my next book till probably January of 2019. I might start making videos in December, but I won't start posting them till 2019, so that we can really let people kind of notice us and be famous. No, I don't want too much fame. But anyway, I think that is about it. So without further ado, let's get into chapter 24 of The Only Thing to Fear by Caroline Tung Richmond. Chapter 24. It was Aline's idea to have a commemoration for the fallen rebels. Late one evening, almost 3 weeks after the Führer's assassination, she gathered everyone at the cafeteria to drink to those they had lost. 200 people trickled in for the event, nearly all stationed at the Alliance headquarters. They each grabbed a bottle of beer or a cup of cheap wine, and Zara quickly claimed 3 of the cups, one for her uncle, and one for Bastian, even though she didn't see him in the cramped cafeteria. As usual, the infirmary kept him busy around the clock. Ever since they had arrived at the bunker, Bastian had thrown himself into the infirmary, clocking 14 to 16-hour days to treat everything from head colds to broken bones to festered bullet wounds. In mere days, his fame had spread through the bunker. The son of a Nazi colonel, now an Alliance rebel. Many of them had found reasons to pass by the infirmary to get a good look at him. But Zara rarely saw Bastian. She caught only glimpses of him in the cafeteria as he assembled a plate of fried potatoes and headed back to his patients. And that made her wonder if he was avoiding her. After everything they had been through at the White House, she hadn't expected him to treat her just like another recruit. Perhaps he was regretting his and Zara's kiss, the thought of which made her whole face burn. Whatever it was, she and Bastian hadn't spoken in days, aside from a mutual hello as they passed each other in the bunker's dark halls. And that stung. Maybe it's better this way, Zara told herself. Yes, they had survived the White House attack together, but that didn't change their pasts. She had grown up in his world, the farm girl born to serve his Nazi kin, who would never be more than an Unterschmidt. Now he was living in her world, an Aryan-blooded golden boy among the Kleinbrachen, who would always speak with his German-tinged accent. No matter where they went, one of them would always be considered other. And maybe they could never bridge that gap. As friends, possibly. As something more, though, Zara didn't know. And she wasn't even sure if she wanted something more. The thought of it made her pulse quicken. In the cafeteria, Aline stood on one of the tables and waited for everyone to quiet down. I know we're all busy, so I'll make this quick, but I wanted to take time to honor those who aren't with us anymore. She raised her bottle of cheap beer. To the fallen, we will never forget. The rebels lifted their drinks in return. A few people murmured, "Hear, hear," while others said the name of the deceased. To Garrison, to my sister. Zara added softly, "For Miss Tally." Next to her, Uncle Red murmured, "For you, Annie." Aline raised her glass higher. "Freedom or death," she shouted, right before she downed her drink. That drew a louder hear, hear, and the chime of clinking glasses. Zara brought the cup of cheap wine to her lips, but she halted midway when she saw Bastian enter the room. His gaze searched the rebels until it arrived at Zara. She swallowed the contents of her glass and glanced down at the sticky floor. He crisscrossed towards her anyway. "I thought I might find you here," he said. Zara thrust a cup at him. "Thirsty?" "No, I better not. Not tonight." He fidgeted with the collar of his white medical jacket, which the Alliance had insisted he wear. It was too big around the shoulders, but it suited him. A stiff silence bloomed between them. Zara noticed how Bastian kept tucking his curls behind his ears. His hair had grown past the nape of his neck now, and he didn't quite meet her eyes for some reason. It reminded her of when he first spoke to her at the academy, when he had wanted to join the Alliance but didn't know how to ask her about it. She wondered if there was something on his mind, although she had no clue what it might be. I recently spoke with Murdoch, Bastian said finally. He had to raise his voice to compete with the drinking crowd. Murdoch? Zara had seen the two of them whispering to one another these last few days, their heads bowed and their voices low. Anything in particular? He jabbed his thumb towards the door. Would you mind if we went someplace quieter? We could take a walk outside. First, Zara wanted to stay planted in the cafeteria. Now he wanted to talk to her, after avoiding her for days? But another part of her, the part that won out, didn't want to say no. So they slipped out of the cafeteria, Zara following Bastian, and crept up the metal ladder that led from the bunker to the hotel above ground. Bastian guided her outside in the quiet symphony of the Shinoda night. Crickets chirped and an owl hooted. The first fireflies of the season flashed on and off, like Christmas lights. A shiver breathed across Zara's arms. She shouldn't be out here. They shouldn't be out here, technically. They weren't supposed to go anywhere outside without authorization. But with everyone drinking at the commemoration, there was nobody to stop them. As they walked over the hotel's overgrown lawn, Bastian turned to Zara. His hair almost silver in the moonlight. The pale light softened. Oh my God, I can't read. Ay. The pale light softened the circles underneath his eyes, and as the hollowness that had worn into his cheekbones, guilt wormed through Zara's heart at the sight of his gauntness. It couldn't be easy for Bastian to adjust to his new life here. The food rations, the meager quarters, the constant fear the Nazis had discovered them. Maybe Bastian wasn't avoiding her after all. Maybe he was simply just trying to scrape by. Bastian shoved his hands into his pockets, rocking back and forth on his feet. My father has been promoted, Murdoch told me tonight. He's a general now? Zara exclaimed. Apparently. I thought the Nazis would have stripped him of rank after the Fort Goring attack, but they rewarded him for attempting to protect the Führer. A bitter note crept into his voice. Zara wasn't sure why he had brought her outside just to talk about this, but she didn't want to go back into the bunker yet. She hadn't seen the sky or the stars in days, and the fresh air tasted sweet on her tongue. So I guess it's General Eckhart now? I suppose so. Murdoch said that he'll be going back to Germany. The Nazis want him to prepare more troops for the Soviet advance. Good riddance, Zara wanted to say, although she wished that Colonel Eckhart had been stripped of his rank completely. What will happen to your mom? Will she go with him? Murdoch and I had been discussing that too. He re-talked a curl of his that had sprung free from behind his ear. We're going to go get her. My father put her in a mental facility in New Berlin, and that's no better than a death sentence. A mission? Now the puzzle piece locked into place in Zara's head. Bastian must have wanted to talk to her about breaking his mother out of the hospital. The Nazis didn't euthanize. No, they didn't want to say it. They didn't help the Aryan mentally ill. But the patients of those facilities were usually neglected and mistreated until they withered away, which didn't seem to bother Bastian's father. I'll go with you. I'm sure we can find a place for her here at the bunker. Murdoch already sent out a team. Bastian stared down at his worn boots, a pair he could have never worn back at the academy, too old and too scuffed. And my mother won't be coming to the bunker. She'll be going somewhere safe, away from the fighting. Where? Iceland, we hope. To a safe house there. He kept his gaze glued to his boots. The team should be arriving tonight with my mother. Then I'll be accompanying them to Iceland to make sure my mother gets settled. There's a freight ship that will take us there. Zara wondered why he hadn't mentioned any of this to her. How long will you be gone? A few weeks? Longer than that. He still wouldn't look at her, and that made Zara's stomach fill with dread. After my mother makes it to the safe house, I'll be heading for Brussels. Brussels? Zara said, not sure if she had heard him correctly. He couldn't have meant Brussels, in Nazi-controlled Belgium. Finally, their gazes met. I'm joining the wider stand, Zara. Seconds passed before the words sunk into her. Her lips parted, but she didn't know what to say. This had to be a joke. The wider stand? Everything happened so quickly, Bastian stammered out. Murdoch asked me last night to act as a liaison to the wider stand, so I've been talking with one of their leaders. He spoke for a while about my OPA. We spoke for a while about my OPA and how I had joined the Alliance, and then they sent me a telegram 3 nights ago. They asked me to join them, and I've accepted. I'm leaving tonight. The wine turned in Zara's stomach. Her head fogged at this rush of information. So this wasn't a joke. Bastian was really joining the wider stand. He was really going to Brussels. He was going to leave the territories behind. He was going to leave her behind. Why didn't you tell me sooner? She burst out. She wanted to shove him, but forced her arms to remain at her sides. You've known for days and you didn't say a word? I never meant to keep it from you intentionally, he said. The wider stand discovered that my father was a general in the Nazi army, and all of a sudden they were offering me a passage aboard a transport ship. I told them no at first. I couldn't leave my mother in the territories. But then they offered her a place at one of their safe houses in Iceland if I agreed to what they asked. Agreed to what? Zara demanded. Hurt burst through her, wave after wave. They want me to give radio shows, maybe appear in broadcasts. I'm the general's son, turned defector. They want to use my name. Do you know how much danger you're putting yourself in? Fear clutched at Zara's throat, now mingled with fury. He had no idea what he's getting himself into. The Nazis are already hunting you down. Now you're giving them another reason to find you? I know that, but if I have to do this. I have to get my mother out of New Berlin. If the Nazis take her, they can use her as a pawn to get me. They could torture her. He grimaced saying those words. The wider stand can offer her safety on neutral ground. I couldn't refuse that. Wouldn't you do the same if it were your uncle? Zara hated this answer because it made too much sense. Of course she would do the same thing for her uncle if her uncle were in danger, but that didn't excuse him from keeping all of this from her. What about the Alliance? You begged me for weeks about joining, and now, finally, you're a part of us, and you're just going to leave? The Alliance will get along without me, he added softly, and they have you. He was trying to be nice, but Zara didn't want to hear it. You should have told me sooner. I didn't want to disappoint you. His face reddened with each word he spoke. I was afraid you'd think less of me, that you'd think I'd giving up. He was giving up, in a way, but deep down, Zara understood why he had decided to join the wider stand, even though it cut her in half to admit it. They had gone through so much together, and now he was leaving. She was so tired of getting left behind. If the Nazis found you, if they arrested you, she couldn't say the rest. She couldn't even think about it. Her anger shattered her apart, leaving only sadness and the knowledge that this might be the last time she ever saw him. I know the risks, but they're the same that you take every day, Bastian said, his voice gentle. He tucked a stray piece of hair behind her ear. You're the bravest person I know, Zara. I'm not the one who will be the wider stand's poster child. A slow smile spread across his lips. Says the girl who's the Alliance poster child. He ran his fingers through his curls. I hope you can understand my decisions. Maybe not today, but someday. I do understand, she whispered, even though his decisions made her chest ache. Bastian pulled her into his arms, and she smelled soap and earth and a tinge of ammonia. One day, when all the fighting is over, I hope to see you again, he said into her ear. Zara didn't know how long that would be. Months? Years? There was a chance the Nazis could win this war. Then that someday would never come. She had nearly lost Uncle Red in this revolution. What if she lost Bastian too? The seams of her heart split inside her. She didn't want him to leave, but she couldn't ask him to stay either. This was the world they lived in now, a world pushing them an ocean apart. So you're really going, huh? She said, leaning away from him to stare upward, trying to memorize the lines of his face, the flecks of gold in his eyes. In response, he pulled her in tighter and wrapped her arms round his broad back. Zara wasn't sure how long they remained like this. The only thing she could think about was how he was safe with her right now, safe from the bombs and the bullets that would chase him until the Nazis or the resistance claimed victory. But victory loomed so far ahead of them. Finally, Zara's arms fell painfully against her sides. When do you have to leave? She asked. In a few hours. He reached for her hand, curling his fingers around hers. What will I do without you? When? She replied simply. Bastian smiled, his dimples deepening. When? I plan on it. His head tilted to one side. Then I'll come back. Despite the hurt, Zara returned his smile. I'll hold you to it, Eckhart. You promise? A spark of hope entered her eyes. Promise. And that is the end of chapter 24. So, only one more chapter to go, and I'm so excited. Because I can't wait to start another book. Because then I'll be reading it along with you. Because the only thing to fear, I have read 10, 20 times. You know, I've read it a lot. The new one will probably be I've only read it once or twice. So it'll be interesting. So make sure to like, subscribe, and comment down below. And I'll see you guys in the next video.